In today's Encore episode of The Chris Hanna Show, I'm revisiting the importance of choosing to care less. If you can monitor and adjust how much you care about something, you're actually going to be able to reduce the amount of stress and anxiety that you have, and perhaps as a leader, the stress and anxiety that your team has as well. Welcome to Season 1 of The Chris Hanna Show, where we're going all in on how to improve your performance, your productivity, and your impact. Today's podcast is brought to you by my website, chrishanna.ca. There you're going to find blogs, ebooks, and coaching solutions on how to assist you with achieving your goals. You'll also find a description of some of my recent speaking topics that are currently offered. For all that and more, visit chrishanna.ca today. Are you stressed out? Maybe it's because you actually care too much. That's the topic we're going to talk about today on the Chris Hanna Show. It's something that's controversial. It's something, though, that I think is important that everybody recognizes and realizes, is that you can manage your own stress level by choosing how much you actually care about something. Sometimes you actually need to care less. I find that many leaders and employees nowadays are stressed. When you think about leaders, there are so many different responsibilities and direct reports and expectations that are thrust upon them. It can be incredibly challenging to be a leader. Between resources that are tough to secure, you see things like headcount being a premium. It's not uncommon for all leaders in many different industries to be asked to do the same thing. Do more with less. And you add on the fact that many leaders are either expected to or do have a good work ethic, it can actually be a recipe for burnout. And I think to help with people in their burnout situations, they need to prioritize themselves. They need to ease the stress on themselves. And sometimes that means that they might need to care less. Now, I know that's controversial. You say, Chris, leaders are supposed to care about what they do. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't care at all, but the level of care does need to be balanced. You can't go in thinking about everything needing to be perfect. Does every report or interaction or project or presentation all need to be perfect? Probably not. Sometimes getting something to 100% isn't worth the extra effort. Maybe 80% effectiveness, completeness is okay. I think that caring so much can actually just put more stress and strain on somebody. When you think about high expectations and challenging metrics that are out there and pressed upon people, it creates stress for both employees and for leaders. You'll see employees and leaders try and put in all this additional time and effort, and at the end of the day, it's really not worth it. When you think about the late hours, the weekends, always starting early or working around the clock, it's not worth the effort sometimes. And that can put a tremendous amount of strain on somebody from a professional and from a personal perspective as well. And that's where you start hearing about words like, work-life balance and trying to, get through the day or just working for the weekend. Is because people are working harder than they ever have before. And I'm not saying they don't need to work hard, but I'm saying maybe they don't need to work as hard as they are. Some leaders who get so worked up about what needs to be done, they start to delve into the whole micromanagement side of things, starting to nitpick about every single issue or detail. And that obviously leads to certain challenges as well. I've worked for people who have micromanaged before, and I can tell you from being an employee or being a leader and being led by another leader who micromanages, it is incredibly frustrating. It makes you so you don't want to actually work as much, or you don't care as much, or you're completely disengaged and checked out, or you ultimately are looking for another job or a promotion or an opportunity. Now, a micromanager is somebody who's just involved way more than they should be. But there are times where I know that I have gone down the micromanagement path because there are people that you entrust them to complete a job and they don't do it. Or they're incredibly green and new and they don't understand how to do things. So you get a little bit more involved in the details. But what you start to realize, and I think I've realized this through conversations that I've had throughout my career about perception or about just trying to keep people happy and motivated, is that you do need to step back. Sometimes it's okay. And actually, I encourage it that people make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with letting people fail sometimes, as long as it doesn't negatively impact the customer, put the reputation of the brand at risk. Let people do what they need to do. Don't care as much as a leader. And like when we do care too much, we forget that good enough is sometimes enough. We could care about a project or initiative, but we might spend too much time doing it. We're overdoing it. We go above and beyond, adding details that might not be necessary. I've seen this personally, and I've done this myself early on in my career, where I spend hours and hours perfecting a presentation that you're going to present to a senior leader or executive. And by the time you actually go through and you do your presentation, you start to realize they don't really care about all these extra little details. They just need the bare minimum, maybe, of what's required, not all the extra bells and whistles. Or someone creates a report and they spend so much time creating the perfect visual or the perfect chart. And those little details and that extra time spent doing something just don't produce the ROI, the return on investment that was really put into it. Now, people are doing so with the best intentions because they want to produce a high quality item or a presentation. But the process of putting more demands on themselves and others just doesn't make it worth it. So to lessen the stress and care less, there's nothing wrong with making sure that you do remember that good enough is sometimes all that's needed. It ultimately comes down to knowing the audience and knowing their expectations. But sometimes that 90% complete is better than the 100% complete, especially when you start taking into account the strain and the pain that someone has to go through to get to 100%. But when people start to adjust how much they care, everyone starts to become a bit more relaxed. There's no point stressing yourself or others out with minor details that most people don't care about or they can't be bothered with. So when you start anything, project, report, presentation, any sort of initiative, you want to decide from the onset, how much attention does this deserve? And respond accordingly. Do you need to put in hours and hours and days of work? Or could it be something that you can put together pretty quickly and that can be just okay? So have those conversations with those that you report to or you work with, what they're expecting, and align on expectations. But you need to choose how much you care. There are times in my career where I've gone too far down the quality side, caring about the output of my team, unknowingly frustrating them in the process. It wasn't until a mentor of mine pointed out that I needed to adjust my approach, that not only did my team's stress dissipate, but my own stress and frustration also disappeared. I chose how much to care. So my final thoughts on this is that ultimately it's your choice. You have the choice to choose how much you care about something. You got to find that healthy balance. Deliver the expectations, but not burn yourself or others out. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to get it to 80, 90% complete versus 100. If you try to do so, you're going to create such high expectations that many working with you will no doubt be frustrated, disengaged, upset, annoyed, and you are probably going to be upset because you're going to have expectations that are not met. If you align on expectations from the onset, you are going to experience way less stress overall. Ultimately, the way I define success is by being happy. So by choosing how much I care about something, that will help me be happy. I hope the same happens for you.
You've been listening to The Chris Hanna Show. To have me speak at your next event, or for additional solutions to help you achieve more than you thought possible, visit chrishanna.ca today. For other solutions and resources designed to help companies and leaders rethink and evolve their approach to managing, be sure to check out evolvingmanagement.com. Lastly, please remember to subscribe and share to receive the latest episodes wherever you listen to your podcast. We look forward to connecting with you again soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.